Let me say this very clearly. Chevron leaving California was not the story. It was the warning shot. Because when a $300 billion energy giant that's been rooted in California for over a century quietly packs up and moves to Texas, that doesn't happen overnight. Nope, that's not the way this works. That happens when the people running the state ignore reality for so long that even the biggest players say, we're done. And now the dominoes are falling. Insurance companies are fleeing. Homeowners can't get coverage. Premiums are exploding. The power grid is buckling under EV mandates it was never built to handle. Refineries are closing. Fuel supply is shrinking. And gas prices across California and even Arizona and Nevada, they're already locked in for a brutal shock next year. Meanwhile, Gavin Newsom is scrambling, talking about price caps, talking about penalties, talking about corporate greed. But here's the problem. You cannot regulate fuel into existence. You can't mandate electricity you don't have. And you can't shame companies into staying when the system itself is breaking. This isn't one crisis. It's insurance, energy, housing, fuel, infrastructure colliding all at the same time. And Chevron was just the first to leave. Insurers followed, refineries followed, and now everyday Californians are about to pay the price. So stick with me, guys, because once you see how all of this connects, you're going to understand why this isn't a slowdown anymore. It's a chain reaction. Hit the like button and subscribe. Okay, so Chevron leaving California wasn't panic, it was discipline. This is a company that survived oil shocks, wars, recessions, and political cycles for more than a century. They didn't wake up one morning and decide California felt uncomfortable. They ran the numbers, they modeled risk, and they concluded that staying was far more dangerous than leaving. And this is why Chevron is the canary in the coal mine. When a company that's this large exits quietly, it's because the real damage hasn't hit yet. They already see regulatory trajectory years ahead. They see permitting paralysis, endless litigation, and a state government that treats energy producers like enemies instead of infrastructure. Chevron warned Sacramento. They flagged uncertainty. They flagged investment freezes. They flagged long-term viability concerns. They were ignored. What we're watching right now isn't the event itself. It's the delayed blast radius from years of hostile policy finally reaching the surface. And so Gavin Newsom didn't just regulate energy companies, he antagonized them. Under his leadership, California framed oil and gas producers as political villains. Yeah, you can't even make this stuff up, guys. Cap and trade costs stacked higher and higher every single year. Refinery profit penalties were proposed. Rules shifted mid-investment. Permits stretched into multi-year purgatory. That's not stability. That's hostility. Now, here's the box that Newsom is now trapped inside of. If he reverses course, he admits the policies failed. If he doubles down, the economic damage accelerates. Now, if you compare that with the national posture under President Donald Trump, where domestic energy production is treated as strategic and stabilizing, companies know the direction. They know the rules. They can plan. In California, certainty is gone. This is why Chevron didn't argue. They didn't negotiate harder. They just packed their stuff up and they left. And once refineries and suppliers start responding, the consequences get much bigger. And so Chevron's exit doesn't exist in a vacuum. It lines up with refinery shutdowns, canceled upgrades, deferred maintenance, and investment that never happened. Now, here's the reality Sacramento refuses to face. Refinery capacity is fragile. Once it's shut down, it doesn't magically just come back online. These are multi-billion-dollar facilities with timelines that are measured in years, not in press releases. And so every solution Newsom floats, it only makes it worse. Price caps don't create gasoline. Profit penalties don't expand supply. Threats don't encourage investment. They scare capital away. So instead of stabilizing the system, California is now accelerating the shutdown sequence. Each announcement adds uncertainty. Each policy freeze pushes another company to pause or exit. And this is the domino effect. And once the first major player leaves, everyone else starts reassessing their risk. That's when shortages stop being theoretical and start becoming structural, which kind of brings us to the gas shock that's already baked in. This is exactly how people get blindsided when systems stop working the way that they were promised. So a woman told me that she skipped her grandson's baseball game, not because she didn't care, but because she was stuck at home dealing with a Medicare billing mistake. Her plan listed the wrong provider. She said, "I missed a moment that I will never get back." This is what happens when complexity steals time from your life. This is why I partner with Chapter. They make sure your Medicare coverage is actually working the way you think it is before mistakes turn into stress, bills, or lost moments you can't replace. Now, most people watching are dialing the phone number down below or they're clicking the link in the bottom of this description for this video. But all right, let's keep going, guys, because when systems fail, it never is just one problem. Now, this part isn't speculation. It's math. It's just math. California has shrinking refinery capacity, a unique gasoline blend, geographic isolation, and steady demand. That combination guarantees price volatility, and the timelines are already set. And so even if every policy changed tomorrow, infrastructure just doesn't move that fast. Refineries don't reopen overnight. Supply chains don't reroute instantly. And this doesn't stop at California either. Look at Arizona and Nevada. They rely heavily on California's refining system. And so when supply tightens here, prices jump there. It's automatic. It's like being handcuffed at the hip. You can't vote your way out of physics. You can't regulate your way around shortages. This is why 2026 isn't a warning, it's a lock. The shock is already embedded in the system, and while gas prices will grab headlines, something even quieter is collapsing underneath it all. And so while everyone was focused on Chevron, another exit was already underway. Quieter, but just as dangerous. Insurance companies started pulling back from California, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. Wildfire exposure exploded, liability rules expanded, and at the same time, Sacramento pushed these regulatory price controls that made it impossible for insurers to price risk honestly. And so when you can't charge what risk actually costs, you stop writing policies. This right here mirrors Chevron's logic exactly. Same calculation, same conclusion. If the rules make the business model unworkable, you just get up and leave. And now homeowners are trapped. Coverage is disappearing. Premiums are jumping. Entire regions are becoming uninsurable. This isn't a corporate problem anymore. This is a household problem. And just like energy, the state ignored the warnings right up until the companies started walking away. And so here's the part that most people don't understand yet. This is not about higher insurance premiums. This is about no insurance at all. That is a much bigger problem. And so when coverage disappears, the so-called solutions, fair plans, state backstops, those are not real fixes. They're limited, they're very expensive, they're more expensive than the real insurance companies that they were complaining about, and they're fragile. They shift risk instead of solving it. That is a hidden tax on homeowners. And this is one that hits the middle class first. You can't sell a home without insurance. You can't refinance. You can't build or you can't rebuild after a disaster. You're really screwed in that situation. Great job, Governor Gavin Newsom. So property values start to wobble, neighborhoods destabilize, families get stuck, and once again, this ties directly back to Gavin Newsom's governance style. Appearances over function, announcements over structural repair. Corporations, they can leave, the wealthy can relocate, but everyone else is left absorbing the damage. And while insurance quietly erodes stability, another contradiction is building. This is one that hits every single summer. California is pushing electric vehicles as if electricity is unlimited. It's not. EV mandates dramatically increase demand on the power grid, especially during peak hours, heat waves, even evenings when people plug in at the same time. And while demand is being forced upward, reliable energy supply is being constrained and discouraged. That's the contradiction. Grid expansion takes years, transmission upgrades take longer, and California has not built the redundancy required to support mass electrification. Instead, it shut down baseload power. It delayed new projects and layered ideology over engineering. This is not anti-EV, it's anti-fantasy. And you can't mandate millions of chargers without massively expanding generation and transmission. And you can't do that while you're driving energy producers out of the state. So the result is predictable. Higher strain, tighter margins, and a system that breaks under stress, which is why blackouts are no longer rare events. And rolling blackouts didn't happen by chance. They happened because redundancy was removed intentionally. California chose efficiency optics over resilience. Backup capacity was treated as wasteful. Baseload power was phased out without fully replacing it. And when demand spikes, well, there's just nothing left to absorb the shock. That's not bad luck, that's policy. Now, if you contrast that with the red states where grid resilience is treated as non-negotiable infrastructure, under President Donald Trump, national energy posture prioritizes reliability and domestic production. In California, outages are now managed instead of prevented. Officials are warning people to conserve instead of fixing the system. That's not a plan. Blackouts aren't failures of nature, they're failures of planning. And when the grid fails, California can't even lean on neighbors the way that other states can because it boxed itself in. This brings us to the isolation problem. So California didn't just overregulate its energy system, it isolated it. There are no major pipelines that are feeding California from Texas or the Gulf. The state requires a special gasoline blend that most refineries in the country don't even produce. And when in-state capacity goes offline, there's just no fast replacement. That means imports. But imported fuel isn't flexible. It's slower, it's more expensive, and it's dirtier. Tankers take weeks, not days. Any disruption, a storm, a conflict, a port delay, instantly tightens supply. The Jones Act adds friction, but it's not the core problem. The real issue is California designed an energy system with no emergency release valve. And so when the supply breaks, there's no surge capacity, no backup route, no safety margin. That's why every shock hits harder here than anywhere else, which is exactly why this crisis doesn't stay contained within California's borders. And so Arizona and Nevada didn't design California's energy policies, but they're tied to them. So a large share of their gasoline supply flows straight through California's refinery network. And so when capacity shrinks here, prices spike there automatically. There's no legislation required. There's no politics involved. And this is why governors in neighboring states, Republicans and Democrats alike, they have been quietly sounding these alarms. This is not ideological, it's logistical. So when California sneezes, the whole Southwest catches pneumonia. Truckers pay more, grocers pay more, families pay more. Suddenly, a state issue becomes a regional cost of living shock. This is the part that most people miss. California's collapse doesn't just stay local, it radiates outward. And now this contrast between two systems, two governing philosophies, it's impossible to ignore. Because nationally, the story looks very different. Now, this is not about personalities, it's about outcomes. Nationally, under President Donald Trump, energy production is treated as strategic infrastructure. Companies know that the rules won't change overnight. Permitting is predictable, investment has direction, reliability matters. Now in California, certainty is completely gone. Chevron didn't move to Texas for the weather. They moved for stability, for a regulatory environment where long-term planning isn't pushed and infrastructure isn't demonetized. Two systems are now running side by side in America. One attracts capital, labor, and investment, and the other one drives it out. That contrast explains everything that you're watching unfold. The exits, the shortages, the panic messaging. This isn't an accident. This is years and years of diverging policy choices finally reaching their breaking point. And that leaves Gavin Newsom with very few moves left. And so this is the panic phase. Price caps, profit penalties, blame shifting, rhetoric about corporate greed, emergency announcements designed to look decisive without fixing anything. But none of it creates fuel. None of it restores insurance markets. None of it expands grid capacity. The refineries are already shutting down. Insurers are already pulling back. The grid is already strained and the timelines are already set. Newsom can posture, he can threaten, he can deflect, but what he can't do is rewind the consequences. This isn't collapse in slow motion anymore. This is not hypothetical. It's not avoidable. Chevron was the warning shot. The exits multiplied, and now Californians are living inside the chain reaction. This isn't the beginning. This is the countdown. Like, subscribe, stay sharp, folks. We'll see you next time.